You're listening to a special edition of Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein, and with me in the amazing online internet-connected booth is Rafe Hates Caleb. That's your Twitch and Discord, far as I know, but you just go by Caleb normally.
Yes, sir. That's me.
Now, we're going to touch upon a few different topics with you today. For this series of interviews that I'm doing, we're going with Final Fantasy randomizer people. So I know you through that community since I just joined it fairly recently, and I think you're fairly new to the community as well.
Yeah, I've been in the community for about 6 weeks. Oh, no, I guess
It's got to be a little longer than that.
10 weeks.
There you go.
2.5 months, yeah. I joined literally like 2 days before the the spring tournament kicked off.
Oh, wow. So I think technically I've been there longer than you have because I think I joined 4 days before.
Oh, nice. I feel like I've seen you like in the community. Like, were you involved at all with the community beforehand? Because I feel like your name I recognized in chat and things like that.
Not from Discord. I mean, if you saw me make comments on YouTube videos, because I was on the YouTube community for like 2 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that was how I got into Final Fantasy Randomizer, was when they did their special YouTube broadcast of one of their races. That was so cool. And then I was just like, if they're going to come to me, I should just go to them finally.
Right. Maybe it was just in my subconscious when, if you were ever like watching the live races, because I feel like I watched a lot of the YouTube races, like just like you did for over 2 years watching them.
Yep.
And every now and then when you watch these races, the commentary will refer to the chat.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, you don't get the chat. So maybe it was like, oh, we got a question from Dark Moon X or something like that, or it's a comment from you in chat that was mentioned on a stream. And that's maybe how like subconsciously I've heard your name, because I feel like you've been in the community much longer than I have.
Well, I know a lot about it just because I've been watching. So when I joined in, it's like, oh yeah, and then there's this and this. Like, you're new, and I go, I know this because I've been listening to you guys for 2 years now.
Okay, like that makes me feel a little bit better, because like when you were posting like duckling stuff, I was like, this guy's not a duckling. He's been in the league for like a year.
Yeah, but I suck at the game itself. I'm terrible.
Oh, I mean, that's what I like about the randomizer. It doesn't matter if you're, in my mind, I mean, other people might have their competitive baggage that they bring into it, but it's not like a game that you can suck at. You know, there is planning and decision making and routing that come into play, but for the most part, it's not like you're trying to do a sword dash and Link to the Past randomizer. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's strategy and learning routing more than anything else, because of the turn-based intent of the game, of the way it plays. You can get good at some of the menuing and get fast at stuff, but for the most part, it's more just knowing your route, knowing what you're going to do, learning to anticipate what the game does, because it's just the same menus over and over again. There's no like link hover or having to learn like 3 one-frame windows to do things. It's not that kind of speed game. Yeah.
It's like speed chess.
It is in
my mind,
and that's
there's the game between you and your opponent if you're racing, and then there's the game between you and the AI RNG of the game.
Mostly Kraken 2.
Yeah,
the great equalizer, Kraken 2. Yeah, it's an interesting thing about the game where even if you're not good at it, you can usually finish most seeds in about 2.5, 3 hours. And once you get familiar with it, your times drop by at least an hour just automatically, no matter how good you are at the game, just because you've learned it enough.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly those. It's not even like matters of seconds; it's like whole swaths of time.
Huge
I remember
chunks.
When I got into randomizer communities, it was through a Link to the Past randomizer. And it was about 2.5 years ago. I was down in Georgia visiting family for Christmas, and my brother was playing this game, and I was like, actually it was the Thanksgiving before that, my youngest brother and I were watching my brother and his friends race Link to the Past randomizers on Twitch, and I was like, I want to do this. I love this game. I feel like I know it very well. And when I went down there for Christmas and we were hanging out, we started racing, and then the first time I completed a seed for that, it was like 6 hours. I was like, Jesus Christ. The next time I completed a seed, it was 3 hours. Like half the time was just lopped off. And then it was just working on getting a sub 2. And when I got my first sub 2, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, and then I never played the game again.
I think Link to the Past is one of those ones that I look at wanting to play at some point. Not that I think I'm ever going to be good enough for the tournaments. I watch people like Andy and Pink Kitty Rose and those people on there, and I'm like, you have more technical skill in like your pinky than I'm ever going to have in my entire being at this point. But that's one of those games I grew up with because, child of the NES and the Super Nintendo, and A Link to the Past is a classic. I mean, I'm sure I could probably eventually get to a sub 2 just because I know enough about the basics of the game and I've watched how they route it, but that's one of those ones that I think I would play casually. I don't think I'd do racing in that one. Yeah,
it's a super fun game to play casually. Again, I haven't played it in probably like a year and a half. I have a good friend of mine that I play D&D with. Mm-hmm. He used to competitively race Link to the Past, Master Sword
just up to that point, the 3 dungeons in Master Sword to get to that, and once you pull it from the pedestal, you finish the run.
Yeah, he would race competitively with that. So I showed him the randomizer, and then we raced in person. Like, he brought his computer over. Like, we were set up in my living room. I was on a laptop, and we raced, and that was a lot of fun. But that was probably the last time I played the game. But in that through that process, watching the Link to the Past randomizer videos on YouTube, it started like, hey, you might want to watch this. And it was the Final Fantasy. I was like, oh my God, I like this game so much more than Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Let me watch these videos. And I was just mind blown GIF, and it was so much fun. I was like, wow. And then like you're seeing these names and it's just like Edgeworth and Tristal, and you're just like, wow, these guys are really good at this game. And then you're like, a year later, it was like new people coming in, and like Falconic FF, and now he's just Falconic. And they were like coming in, and they were like the dark horses and like the new people. And then it was like Arson Horse, and it's just like,
yeah.
And then to jump into the community and have conversations with these people that you've only seen in YouTube videos, there's like a weird I don't want to inflate anyone's egos, but like when you're new to the community and you've only seen these people through YouTube videos, or I would watch them on my TV because I had the YouTube hooked up there.
Yeah, I have it on my Xbox. It's lovely to watch on that.
Yeah, and it's just like there's this feeling of like meeting a celebrity.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, you're just some dude.
For the most part. I mean, there are still certain members of the community that I see and they jump in and I converse with them, and at the back of my mind I'm like a little fangirl just like squeeing the whole time, like, oh my God, Edgeworth is talking to me.
Right. Oh crap, Cece's running my seed. I hope she likes it.
Yeah, Crab Cakes is insane because we're wandering all over the place. It's a much less controlled conversation than I had with Sonny Rath the last time, just because we're already jumping into it. You run your own podcast and you know how this goes, so we're just letting this fly. But yeah, it's I was gonna do a whole long quick spiel about how you got into it and everything, but no, let's dive right in because
let's just jump into it. What's up, you beautiful man?
But yeah, watching the early races between Edgeworth and Tristal MTG, and those things were crazy how good both of them were. And it's like Edgeworth would take a lead, and then Tristal would take over, and Tristal would make gambles, but between the two of them, Edgeworth would play slightly more conservatively, but that's conservative for them. It's not conservative for us where, we're spending time checking every treasure chest. Conservative for them is the difference between...
Let me get this imp grind out of the way.
Yeah, like an hour 25 for the seed instead of an hour 20 is conservative for them. Whereas, you or I, I'm like, well, 2 hours was really good for me.
Yeah.
And then Crab Cakes comes in, and right now she is undefeated in throughout the entire tournament. Hasn't lost even a single matchup, and it's just crazy how good she is.
Yeah, I mean, and I like that she's still human. Like when you see the challenge leaderboards and stuff like that, there are people that beat her.
Yep.
So it's not like she's like a task bot, but she's gotten some really strong luck on her side as well as a ton of skill. And when those two things intersect, you're 9-0 in a spring tournament against really tough competitors. It's not like she had an easy schedule either. So
no,
the Swiss was built out.
Well, and it's the thing that I saw some people comment upon, which was that her wins were luck on the ones where she was behind by like 5-10 minutes. And I mean, 5 to 10 minutes in a crab cakes run is a long time, but it's also that thing of the people she was playing against knew it was crab cakes, even Edgeworth, because Edgeworth apparently like for the week before his race with her, he like shut everything else down and went offline and was just playing seed after seed to practice. And it's a thing of, in all those cases, they took gambles, assuming that crab cakes wouldn't, which she didn't, because she plays fast, but I noticed she plays consistently. I wouldn't say conservatively, just consistently. And she likes certain things that she hits every time, and she's going to check certain chests. And they'd go in faster than she would, but by the end of it, she'd be better prepared, so that every time that they hit any kind of speed bump in Topher, she could shoot right past.
Yeah, that's a very insightful point. And like, I don't want to like diminish Shadow Walker's accomplishments either for being in the spring tournament, because that dude is also on beast mode. I
played in a race with him and Crab Cakes and myself. It was one of those awful challenge seeds that you expect to be 4 to 5 hours, and
this was that 5 hour, 500% clamp.
Yeah, 500% clamp. So every boss was at least 100%, and most of them scaled up to 500. And we had an alternate final boss, which for those that haven't played Final Fantasy Randomizer, the traditional end boss of Chaos can be replaced with much harder versions, such as 2 War Mechs and 6 Bad Men, or like a pack of 8 Garlands and a Chaos, or Double Dragon, which is a Tiamat and a Carry. And the one we got was the War Mech pack. And it was absolutely destructive. Like, I think the War Mechs had Nuke on them that they'd open with, and a couple of the Bad Men had like another nasty spell or something. So if you weren't lucky with your turn order, you got destroyed immediately. And we spent easily 3 hours on that seed trying to get past. Yeah, because they got into Topher at like the 2 hour mark, and it wasn't an easy seed, like floor shuffle and everything to begin with. I got in 30 to 45 minutes after they did because I'm slow, which I still consider that an accomplishment on how hard the seed was.
Yeah, dude, and you've been in the community like not even 3 months.
Yeah,
and you're running an incredibly difficult seed with the best in the game.
And I almost beat them. I had it down to 1 War Mech and everything else was killed, and turn order was the only thing that made me lost, and then I spent 2 more hours beating against it until Shadow Walker. I know, and Shadow Walker.
Lost so much sleep over that.
I was okay. I go into every seed expecting to lose, and when you're playing Crab Cakes and Shadow Walker, you just accept it. Yeah. But the fact that almost happened, Shadow Walker was like, "Man, if you beat me on your first attempt at that dungeon, I was going to be so mad." But it was fun, and it was fun to watch them, and that was one where Shadow Walker won because he managed to figure out how to get through it before everyone else that was playing, the other 2 of us. So yeah, it's Shadow Walker has some really strong skill, and in the particular match he had with Crab Cakes, it went against his favor, but that's not to diminish his ability, because if his gambles had paid off, he'd be in it and she'd be out. So yeah.
I want to point this out. If there are any of the devs listening right now, I want a flag that if the enemy's stats can be boosted to 500%, there should be an option for the player flags to be boosted that high.
Well, I don't know if you've been looking at the dev conversations in the various forums. There's they decided to scale the thief up in the alpha channel.
I love that flag.
But when you get the thief a high enough level with like the Masamune or the katana on them, their hit percentage actually breaks because it hits a cap that they didn't even realize existed in the game. And I have a feeling that if they started to really boost the stats like you're suggesting, jokingly or not, we'd hit all kinds of caps we didn't even know existed, because it's just
not joking at all. Because there was also the joke about 100 times health, so
I was serious.
Yeah, it's like that would be fun, but only if the player characters could go that high.
Yeah.
Like, if I got to swing a sword and be lucky to hit 1,000 HP a round, against 200k, and this guy's got a double nuke rolled, and I can't keep up healing with only 9 spell slots.
I agree.
So
yeah, there's the Game Boy randomizer that they're doing, Final Fantasy randomizer. I can't remember.
HMS Jane?
Yeah, and that's by Nicolette?
Yes.
Okay, I'm terrible with names, so
You're good. I work with people, so like names and things like that are kind of okay with me. I won't say I'm good at them because eventually I will like drop a name. So you said you're good at names. I was like, well, I'm human.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Nicolette on the I'm part of that Discord as well. I'm
Yeah.
much more lurker in that one. It's like do I have to download like a whole different thing, or like can I just use BizHawk for this?
That's a whole nother matter right there. But yeah, no, I see the conversations about that one, and I'm intrigued when it happens because that's the kind of one, because the Game Boy game doesn't use the D&D style spell slots, it uses straight magic points, so things can be boosted, and if they decide they want to boost it so that characters can have 9999 health and stats way above the NES, then I think at that point you have to be allowed to slide the bosses up to like 100 times stats as well, because otherwise all the difficulty of the game, which is halfway lost in the Game Boy Advance version anyway, because that game's freaking easy. Yeah.
Oh man, I love this game so much. Like the Final Fantasy, I think Final Fantasy, Link to the Past, well, the original Zelda trilogy.
Mm-hmm. I love watching the various Zelda games.
I think these are the few games that I own on several different mediums. Mm-hmm. Like I have the carts, like I have the original NES carts. I can boot that up. I can play those. I have like the GameCube Zelda collection.
Yeah.
You know, I have Final Fantasy Origins on the PlayStation. I've got the Game Boy. I've got the PSP version. I've got the iOS version on my phone.
You've bought more copies of Final Fantasy than I have.
It's stupid.
I mean, we all have a certain game that we fell in love with. I don't play the randomizer for it, but I own every edition of Chrono Trigger that I can, because that game is my absolute favorite.
Chrono Trigger is one of those games that missed me.
Really?
Because I was right at the age to consume it, but like I didn't have it as a kid. Mm-hmm. I had the Final Fantasy, I believe it was Final Fantasy. Oh, it was the one that had Final Fantasy IV with it, but it was the report
Chronicles.
Chronicles, thank you. It was Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy IV. Mm-hmm. And I had that on the PlayStation. I played like the first hour of it, and going back into like a JRPG that you don't have nostalgia bound to,
I can see that.
It's hard for me anyway. It's hard to get into them because there's that first hour or two that are just like, okay, it's the town festival. I got to play through this. Okay. And then it's just like I lose those early hooks. So Chrono Trigger missed me, but I do have the SNES card because I was like, years ago, I had a job where I made really good money and I could buy all the things that my nerdy self and the nerdy kid inside of me would have wanted.
Yeah.
So I have like the Chrono Trigger cart. I have the Earthbound cart. I've never played them. But I have them. So whenever like I'm independently wealthy, I can be like, time to play Earthbound as a 40-year-old man and try to get the same enjoyment as if I were 13 and playing this game.
I mean, I have the same thing that you're talking about for Chrono Trigger. I have that for Earthbound because Chrono Trigger and Secret of Evermore and Earthbound all came out around the same time. I remember driving into town to the Best Buy that was there and checking the Super Nintendo area and seeing what games were out. And Earthbound just looked weird, which it is. It's a weird game.
Yeah.
And I didn't play it, but I didn't pick it up, but I've watched speedruns of it since, and I'm sitting there going, man, I should have grabbed that instead of Secret of Evermore, because of the two of them, that was the much better game.
And so when I have Secret of Evermore, that's another one that I have, and it's like I thought it looked cool, but I never played it.
That game is bad. I mean, it's fun, but it's bad, and like once you get to the end area, the end game weapons are broken. Like towards the player, they're great, but you're gonna play it the first time and go, "Is this what's supposed to be happening?" So it's a broken game.
So when I was a kid, like my folks didn't have like a lot of money. They had enough money to like, you know, we had a good Christmas and we usually got like a decent birthday.
Yeah.
But other than that, there weren't like any casual gifts or anything like that through the year or anything. So it was just, we got by. And but my parents, they would go yard sale shopping and flea market shopping on the weekends, especially during the summer. And it was like a little mini Christmas when my dad would come in and he would have like 6 random NES games.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, what do we got? Oh, you found a Mega Man game? Like, and Chrono Trigger was never one that he brought home. So I wasn't exposed to that game as a kid like I was Final Fantasy 2 and 3, aka 4 and 6.
Yeah.
So I played those a lot because we had them. But Chrono Trigger missed me. And a good buddy of mine, Corey, who we called Kegasaurus, when I was in the Army, he was in the Air Force, and we called him Kegasaurus because we all had like nicknames for each other when we would go out drinking. We would hit different levels of intoxication, and we would become different people. And he would become, I'm not going to out his last name, but he would become Kegasaurus because Keg was part of his last name. And then eventually he'd become the Kegasaurus Rex.
Yeah.
And then eventually he would become Kegasaurus Dead. But he and I, like, when we used to hang out a lot. He got married and like kind of went away, and I talk to him every now and then, but he used to just like come over and we'd be like, hey, you want to do Star 96 Super Mario World? And we would just sit there, have a couple beers, and just play Super Mario World for 6 hours, just clearing all the entrances and stuff or exits. But he was really big into Chrono Trigger, and would always talk about it was his favorite game. And I was just like, I wanted to like further that connection with my buddy, but I was just like, I play Final Fantasy 3. And which he didn't have, so it's just kind of like we had Mario World.
Yeah.
But I did play Chrono Cross on the PlayStation. Like I was an avid consumer of PlayStation RPGs when I was in high school, and Chrono Cross was one that I played until the final boss, which had like some like button sequencing thing.
Yeah, if you want to properly beat the weird Lavos Dream Devourer thing, you had to hit them in a certain order of color using the Chrono Cross spell, which was really stupid.
Yeah, so I never finished that game. And the same thing happened with me and Brave Fencer Musashi.
Yeah.
I loved that game, and I feel like that's one of those underrated gems from the late 90s that nobody really talks about. I mean,
I know about it. I never play it.
It's a ton of fun. It's like if you could imagine Squaresoft doing a action adventure 3D Zelda kind of game, you know, because it's like top down, running around, killing stuff active on the world and doing dungeons, and you get spells, and you got these two different swords, and they can do different things, and they absorb the souls of enemies, and it was a lot of fun. And it's got like kind of like it doesn't take itself too seriously kind of tone. And one of the final boss fights is basically like DDR. But like, obviously we didn't have the dance mat to jump around on, but it's just like with the controllers, and I am not musically inclined. Yeah. So like the sense of rhythm and beat were lost on me. And I was just like, I'm hitting the buttons in the order that they're showing. Why isn't it doing? Because I didn't have the rhythm to do it appropriately. The white guy dancing gene infects my video game playing as well.
Oh yeah, I mean I have certain games that I just didn't get into when I was growing up, and you know I go back to them now. I'm like, I can see the merit in this. I see people play Final Fantasy 4 and Final Fantasy 6, which were games that I didn't pick up until much later in life because you know only so much money to go around, and I was buying Zeldas and Secret of Manas and other stuff. So
Final Fantasy Adventure on the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. Did you play that one?
Nope. I mean, I played it later in life, and it's fun. Okay. But again, I don't have that same attachment to it that I do like Secret of Mana, because that's the game I played. But it's the thing of like when I went back and started playing the Final Fantasy games, the ones that I really got into, like the one that I like bonded with the most was Final Fantasy V, because the mechanics of that game are really interesting.
That's another one I can't get past the 2-hour mark.
The intro of that game is slow. It's like 45 minutes of cutscenes and a little bit of story, but once you get into it, all the things you can do with the classes and the upgrading and the various combinations you can do, I fell in love with that game in a way that Final Fantasy 4 and 6 never really hooked me, because they're not like as mechanical, and because I didn't have a deep bond with the story at the time. I'm just like, I just want to play a game. Yeah. So I have that problem with Octopath Traveler, which is that I don't care so much about the story, but the mechanics are interesting, so I end up playing that game more for the mechanics.
For me, the game that... So I love Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 6 is probably like up there in the top 3. Big fan of Final Fantasy 7 when that came out. I don't know how I feel about the remake.
Yeah, I'm not paying too much attention to it because, man, whatever.
Yeah. But Final Fantasy Tactics, that was my jam. Like Final Fantasy, like the War of the Lions, the PSP reboot,
Yeah,
is like, why doesn't this happen for every game that I love? Because it's like they took the game that was quirky and fun and had really neat mechanics, and kept it the same, but added in like the relocalization of like the script and stuff is like, it's so pitch perfect, and I love it so much. Like that is probably one of my and like and the fact that it became multiplayer.
Yeah.
So like my younger brother, who was really big into it, he's one of the characters that I always name a party member after if I'm rolling with 4. Rockle, he's my brother Alex, but he and I would play tactics like separately, and because you could do that in the later Final Fantasies, you had room on a memory card. Hyro and I talked about how you couldn't have more than one save file on Final Fantasy last night on my podcast, because I'm also doing an FFR guest series. But we would be playing tactics together, but then on the PSP, being able to play with or against like a buddy was so much fun. And like then unlocking extra gear, and I was just like feeding into that completionist brain that I have. And like, well, I do, like, should I buy a second PSP so I can play against myself so I can get all the onion gear? Oh man, the struggle was real for a while, but I love tactics. Like I used to on the PSP, like probably like 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
I used to like put myself to sleep playing it. Like I was working like an odd schedule, and I would have trouble falling asleep in like the middle of the day or like late at night if I needed to like get to work like later in the afternoon, like when you're working those like second and third shifts.
Yeah.
And I used to work a 2 to 10 schedule. So like you're just basically, oh, I'm just going to stay up all night and go to sleep at 7 a.m. That's probably what's going to happen. So in order to force myself to go to sleep, it's probably terrible for my eyes, but I would lay in a dark bedroom in my old apartment with the PSP, and I would just play with it plugged in until like the bright light hurt my eyes enough that they just wanted to close. And it would just be sitting there cycling on the same battle, just like yelling, hitting each other, healing each other, throwing rocks at each other, just cheesing the hell out of that XP system and the JP system. But I loved that game so much.
Yeah, I'll admit that I tried Final Fantasy Tactics, but I came at it after having like gotten really into the Shining Force series, and so like that was the one that took over my war sim stuff, and I was so deep in Shining Force that when I played Final Fantasy Tactics, I'm like, I can see the merit of this, but it's not the game I'm looking for.
Yeah. But I also loved the story of Tactics, and I think Tactics came out in this era where the games didn't have a lot of I'm thinking of 2 games in particular, Final Fantasy Tactics and Xenogears, that I loved as a teenager, like in high school, playing these games that didn't get the same hype as Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 8. And my brother and I, we used to have this conversation, is because like there was pushback from those games, because eventually in both of those games you end up taking on concepts from the church and fighting God in the final battle. It's like, oh yeah, maybe that's why I like these games. But Xenogears is another one that like I remember beating, and it was like a 3-disc game, and I remember that 3rd disc was basically just cutscenes. And I remember being at my my buddy's place, like playing through like some of the in-game content, and because I would basically just play it and he would watch, and we would just like kind of like talk and make fun of the game, like, you know, like buddies would do or whatever.
Yeah.
So we would like shoot the shit during the like, you know, bullshit about the game or whatever. We've been playing the game because at the end, the last act of that game is just like an X button simulator, just like yep, reading dialogue, yep. Oh, we're gonna walk down a hall a little bit. Oh, more dialogue, more cutscene. And there's a moment. Have you played Xenogears?
No, I have not.
Okay.
So you can spoil it. It's fine. I don't care. It's an old game. No one cares at this point.
Yeah. So spoilers for Xenogears. You play the antagonist or the protagonist that is like sort of lost his memory, and he's regaining it throughout the course of the game. And he develops a relationship with a female character, and they fall in love, and blah, 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 blah. And there's a moment, so the game is like this 3D rendered polygon, but there's also like the characters almost look like they're pixels, like pixel art, like 3D pixel art instead of polygons. And then all the cutscenes are like beautifully rendered like anime. And there's a moment where the main character and this female character, they consummate their relationship. And there's a moment where she's like in the 3D rendered world, not the anime like cutscene world, where she's like in the bed talking to him across the room. Bear in mind, we're like 14 at this time. She has like the little pixel sheet up over her chest, and we're like, do you see that extra pixel? Like that one pixel is a deeper shade of red than the rest of her skin pixels. It's like, is that a pixel boob? And like, as like 14, 15-year-old kids, like we latched onto that. And it's just been like an inside joke between he and I for like decades of just like the extra pixel. Oh man. But Xenogears is such a fun game, man. Like, and it's one that I've like tried to revisit, but again, it opens with that, like, here's a festival in town. And it's just like, come on, man, I need something. But I love that game, man.
I get that. It's that first hour of Chrono Trigger. That's the slowest part of the game, and I love it. I love the whole game. I'll play it over and over, and I get to that first time, I'm like, yeah, okay, I just have to plod through this quickly. Can we get back to the action where I can one-hit kill everything with my overpowered sword on New Game Plus now, please? That's what I want.
It's the same thing with 7. Like, I want to get out of Midgar.
Yeah. Oh my God, 7 takes so long to get going. There are sections of 7 that are a lot of fun, even though I personally didn't beat the game, but a friend I was playing with it did. You know, there's sections of 7 that are so much fun, and then you get to a point where you're like, now I have to grind for a gold chocobo. Let me spend 3 hours doing this. Doot doot doot.
Oh, I love the chocobo breeding.
I love it up until the point where you spend like 3 hours trying to get a goddamn black chocobo and they don't ever give you one. Like, just give me the chocobo, goddammit.
See, I had a strategy guide for that game, and it was the completely unauthorized edition.
Oh, they always were.
It wasn't the Brady games. It wasn't a white guide. It was this really thin. When it was based off the Japanese game, and there was like a section of it like, hey, if you go into this well, like you can run around here. It might take a while, but there's a random encounter with this enemy called Test Zero. They have a ton of HP, but they'll never do anything to you, and you get 1,000,000 XP and ability points.
Wish I knew about that shit when I played the game.
It's only in the Japanese version. Like, I would spend like an hour just running around in this well, like listening to CDs in the other room. Where is this encounter? Just whole
internet's around now. Just go get the Japanese version and play it there, because everything's available on the internet.
Yeah, when I watch the speed runs of like from HDQ or SGDQ where they're doing Final Fantasy VII and they end up in that weird test area with like the golden triangles. I'm like, come on, man, this ain't the game.
Yeah.
This isn't the game. Come on. I want to see a Final Fantasy VII speed run with no glitches. I want to see you ride that struggle bus for 12 hours.
That is something I have an issue with like a lot of the 3D games. I realize that there are glitches you can pull off and get out of bounds in like the 2D games. Like out of bounds Link to the Past was so common for a while there that most of the speedruns don't even do it anymore, because they're just like, this is dumb and let's do something else. Unless they're doing like reverse boss order or something, they tend to stick to the regular game. But you watch 3D games like Fallout or Borderlands or any of those, and like going out of bounds and finding the weird like dev areas and everything else is just such a core part of the game that I feel like it loses the game itself. It's just you doing mechanics at this point to get as fast as possible through a cutscene. Yeah,
I agree 100%. Like it's silly at that point. It's just like you found a way to glitch the system, and it's not to diminish that. Like, there is something to be said for that, but I don't think it should be counted as a speed run of the game.
It's cool you did it. Can I just watch you play the actual game now so we can get some story? Yeah. I'm amazed that you beat Fallout 3 in a half an hour, but I got nothing of the game in that as you play through it as a baby. So.
Yeah. I got a question for you. How do you feel about like the Metroidvania stuff? Like,
see, you're starting to get into my jam right now, because I don't know if you knew this about me, but for, oh my God, like, what are we looking at, 19, 20 years almost, I've been running a Castlevania website.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I hung out like in my misspent youth, like 16 and up, when I was on the internet. I spent years on the Castlevania Dungeon forum, like through all 3 versions of it that were there at the time. And then a few buddies and I got tired of, like, after one version of it that was on Easy Board got hacked, and the guy who was behind the website at the time, Kurt Collada, who's famous for other shit that he does now, he booted up the forum again on a new place with classic gaming and whatever they were using, and it just wasn't the same that we were looking for back at the time. So we went off and we did a split-off version of the forum that eventually grew into what we called the Inverted Dungeon, because, you know, the upside-downside versions of the castle from Symphony of the Night. And then ever since that, I have just been maintaining a Castlevania website on my own. And so you want to talk Metroidvanias, I can talk for, like, years about that.
Okay, well, I got to do that. Other than eat dinner at some point. But,
I mean, we should probably wrap this podcast up at some point, but let's go for another 10, 15 minutes. Why not?
I think when Falconic and Mo were on, so the podcast that I do with Rafe is typically about an hour long with just her and I.
Yeah.
When there's a guest, it usually leans to like a half hour longer.
Yeah.
When Falconic and Mo were on, it was like a 2.5 hour.
Oh my God.
It's like we were drinking. I've had a couple beers here, but like, you know, like I was hungover the next day. Like it was not a good look, man. But Castlevania Symphony of the Night is my jam. Like that's another one that I own multiple iterations of. Like I don't know what happened to my PlayStation Black disc. I think my brother ended up with it because like it was one of those things that got left behind when I went into the army.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, like it's somewhere, and like them, like parents moved, my brothers all moved, so it's like it's somewhere amongst things.
I have 3 copies of it, I think. One for I got the Greatest Hits edition of the PlayStation 1 because I was late to the party for that, and I've never felt the need to upgrade it because why? And then I have the Xbox Live edition they put out, and I got the PSP combo of like the rebooted Rondo along with it. I haven't picked up the PS4 download version of it and the classic Rondo because I'm like, I own this game enough times and I can just play it on my Xbox. Why?
I did just remember another iteration of how I own Final Fantasy 1.
Okay.
I have the PSN versions. I have the PSN version of Symphony of the Night as well.
Yeah.
I have the PSP, the Rondo of Blood one.
Yeah, the Dracula X Chronicles.
Yes.
Yep.
That's the one that I have. But for the most part, I play the PSN one now. But that is a game that like I used to have this like completionist tendency where I would want to go through and just kill everything to fill out the library system to find out what every enemy's second drop was.
Yep, I've done that.
And then I found the Ring of Varda off the I can't remember it's like the Australopithecus skeleton or whatever in the inverted castle. It drops this ring that boosts like all of your stats by like 20 or 30.
Yeah.
And then I would farm 2 of them and just LOL easy mode the rest of the game.
I would do that with the Shmooze and the reverse library because the Shmooze will drop the Chrysogrim.
Yes, the super fancy sword, right?
The super fancy sword that like cuts 20 times when you push the button once and does ungodly damage. I'd farm 2 of them and I'd just tap both buttons.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I would, and then I found about like the luck password. Because that's the only thing where any of these drop-based mechanics is really viable. Like if you try to get that Ring of Varda on like standard luck, like good luck, no pun intended. But yeah, like I would just do that, and I don't know how many hours of my life I spent just running back and forth down that inverted hallway, killing that freaking skeleton.
Yup. I've been there.
And when I would get like an early drop, I'd be like, hell yeah, we're going to get one really quick. 4 hours later.
4 hours later. Yeah.
I should probably go to the bathroom.
I'm pretty sure when I was grinding Shmooze for 2 Chrysogrims at one time because my sister and I were like, oh, this sounds dumb. Let's see if we can do this. It was probably an hour and a half that we ground on that. And then once I got it and I'm tapping both of them, I'm literally walking through every enemy without pausing. We were just like, this is so stupid. It's great.
It's so much fun.
It is.
I remember there was, I think it was in the inverted clock tower. No, it was in the regular clock tower. There's the floating knight that has the sword that he kind of flies around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and you pop up and you hit them, and like you could one shot them and then drop back down, pop up, hit them. There was, I don't know how many times like I would hit them and I would see the sword drop right out of the screen, and I was like, damn it.
Yeah. It was some of those drops were irritating because the game is fun, but you realize that it's not entirely well coded because it's the first Metroidvania first good Metroidvania that the company Konami ever did. We're not really counting Vampire Killer and Castlevania 2 among that.
Yeah.
Those were early ones. And I mean, if we want to go deep cuts on their Metroidvanias, there's also Konami YY World, which was another one of their Metroidvanias.
You've lost me, bro.
I told you I could talk this for days.
I know Castlevania. I played that one a lot. Castlevania 2 was okay.
It was okay. It's better if you can get a proper English translation of the Japanese version, because then you can actually understand the stupid game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Castlevania 3 was my jam. I had that one as a kid. Like that was one that like my parents, like I had like, it was like a Christmas present or something like that. But like factory in the box. All the other ones were, flea market versions. Yeah. And then Castlevania 4, I love that one.
That one's one of my faves. It's in my top 3 because that game is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah. Like I never beat it. Like that's the thing with like the original quadrilogy of the Castlevanias. Like I've never beat any of them. I mean, I think I might have beat Simon's Quest because it's pretty much the easiest one of those.
Yeah, if you spend your time and you grind and you don't care about which ending you get, the good or the bad one, you can finish that game and it's not too ridiculous.
Yeah. And then like Castlevania 3, like I just remember never knowing how to activate or consistently like Grant's ability to climb on the walls.
He's a little weird.
Or like how to consistently Alucard bat, like
yeah,
because I'm not good with the technical button pushing stuff. But
Castlevania 4 of the original 4 that we're talking about right now, Castlevania 4 is the only one I was actually able to beat because that one was easier than the others. Now, don't get me wrong, there's one boss near the end of the game, Slogra, who's a fucking dick. And he's like, you hit him and he bounces up and then he tries to land right on top of you. Unless you're like good and lucky, he's gonna damage you, and he does more damage than you do, and he's an asshole. Oh god, I hate Slogra. But I have beaten that game multiple times just because I forced myself to do it because it's so pretty.
I got a question for you. Game you ever beat?
What?
Because I've never met anybody that's beat it. Have you ever beat Paperboy?
Is there an actual ending to Paperboy?
I think so.
Okay.
I think the week ends. It's like Paperboy's best ever. It's like that newspaper thing.
I can swear I got through a week and got back, and it just resets you back, and it's not anything special. Because and it depends on which version of it you're playing too, obviously. Because there's the like NES and Genesis and arcade versions are all slightly different. On the NES, I would maintain just like 2 or 3 houses. And then I'd say fuck it to all the rest of them. And I just keep those houses around and play dodge them. And then just try and get through as many of the days as I can. I'm pretty sure I made it through a week at least once.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know if there's an ending.
The first person I've ever met that has done that.
It was a challenge to do it. And I had a lot of NES games. My mom had a friend who worked as a copyright lawyer.
Okay.
And one of the things that they would do is, like, working with the feds, they would impound a bunch of the bootleg games. So, so he had stacks of cartridges sitting around of crap they couldn't get rid of, so they, on the sly, once in a while, pass one of these things off to people. So I ended up with a 72... Huh? I know, right?
I want to be friends with this guy.
I ended up with a 72-in-1 game cartridge that had, like, a bunch of decent NES games and a lot of shit on it. So, like, people are talking rare random games to do randomizers on. I'm like, Clue Land! And they're all like, what the fuck is Clue Land? I'm like, you don't know NES until you know this shitty game.
That's my favorite thing about randomizers is thinking of all of the other, like, there is a Symphony of the Night randomizer. I'm a member of the Discord.
I need to get over there at some point because SVJ was talking to me about that, and that sounds like it sounds like a game I'd actually be into. The Metroidvania ones, I've watched Aria of Sorrows randomizer, and that one's interesting. Although, like, it's because of the way that game is built. It's basically a soul quest, fetch quest until you can get to the end of the game. So symphonies would be more interesting just because you actually have to play the game.
Yeah, like the randomized like relic locations and things like that.
Yeah.
I've been a member of the Discord. I haven't spoken or done anything in it, but I'm there. The randomizer, the concept in and of itself, I would love to see like a Faxanadu randomizer.
Yeah.
Like that's a game that I haven't touched since I was a kid, but I love the music. Like that's what sticks in my mind when I remember Faxanadu is like how cool the music was in that game. And I like the fact that like your sprite changed based on what armor.
I love when games do that. Like,
it's such a cool little nod, and not a lot of games do it.
No.
I mean, obviously, like the bigger, like the MMOs and stuff like that, because that's what those games are designed around, like WoW and things like that do. But it would be really neat. Like, even if they built that into the Final Fantasy randomizer, like if you could find a way to change the color of like your fighter sprite, like if he's wearing ice armor, if he was like an icy blue color.
That would be cool. That's knowing what I know about the palettes for that game. It would basically be that the weapons and armor would have to be assigned to a very because the weapons will change color depending on what you're equipping because they're a separate sprite. But the sprites of the characters would have to be assigned to the 2 or 3 palettes they have available. I'm pretty sure you'd have to set it the special 3 palette mode that they have in the available in the randomizer, which is a little funky but interesting. But
yeah.
I mean, there's a way that you could do it to get like 2 or 3 of them, but it would take a lot of dev work to be able to get you like the full palette of like all the enemy sprites that you could apply to your characters, because that game is really weirdly programmed.
When I'm independently wealthy after I hit the Mega Millions with a Powerball,
just pay like Nitz and Steven Septimus to like go in there and really do it.
Like, here's $10,000. Go figure it out.
Yeah.
I have the Powerball.
Well, I won't deny that. I have on the side. I run a small little game company that we are actually working on our first video game. And
that's awesome. That's not something you should minimize, dude.
I don't tend to boast about myself on like my projects and so forth. You know, say it a little and then move on because that's how I am. But
yeah, but this is your platform, dude. This is your show, man.
But it's right now it's a Zelda clone. We're calling it Rise of Camelot because it's based on Arthurian legend. And the question I get at conventions is, what inspired you to do this? And I go, Arthurian legend is outside of copyright. So like I want
public domain.
It's public domain. I can do what the hell I want with it because it's from like the 12 and 1400s. Try and find someone to sue me. Come on. No, but yeah, it's like my friend and I were like years ago. We're dreaming up a Castlevania style game like Metroidvania, and I'm like, well, we don't want to do Dracula and those. But the thing that Konami can get away with is it's all public domain characters because Dracula and Frankenstein and all of them are public.
Yeah.
So my brain turned to Arthurian legend for some reason. I'm like, we could just do that and no one can stop us at all. And we do like Greek and Roman monsters and some Norse myth stuff in there and everything. So we want to do that, but we got to build to that. And it's much easier with the programs that are out like Unity and so forth to do a Zelda style game. So the game we're building right now is like kind of a little bit Zelda, a little bit ActRaiser once we're done with it. Because you do, you explore dungeons and then you unlock little villages that you can help upgrade and so forth. And
that's awesome.
In the back of my mind, since the very first day we've been planning it, I've been thinking about it and I've been telling my programmer, because it's a 2-man team we're doing this on. I'm like, just remember, a year from now, we're building a fucking randomizer for this.
How do you feel about the Metroid part of the Metroidvanias? Do you ever get into those?
You know, I love watching Metroid. I love seeing what people can do with it. I think the Metroid games are really good. I suck at them so hard.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about switching it from a sword or whip to a gun that loses me.
So Mega Man's out too for you?
Again, I like the Mega Man games. I really righteously suck at them. The only ones I can get into are the ones that have like an easy mode. And even then, good luck getting me through the whole game. Like
I played those platformers a lot. Like I grew up with Mega Man, Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3. Those were the two that my dad brought home from the flea markets. Mega Man X, Mega Man 7.
Mega Man X and Mega Man X2 I was able to defeat. Mega Man X3 lost me because it just wasn't as good.
X2 and X3 are games that I own that I haven't played through completion, but because I didn't have them as a kid.
Yeah.
Metroid 1 I played a lot and was never good at.
No, that's not a game you're supposed to be good at. The whole point of Metroid is the experience of it, and I don't think the devs really expected people to beat it.
It's a really neat little experience. So like this, you feel isolated.
Yeah.
You know, tonally, it's an interesting experience for a lot of the NES games. The Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, I played a little bit. I had it as a kid. I remember beating it.
It's a bit rough. It's better when you play it on the Super Game Boy, just so you can get like better coloring, and it's a little easier to navigate.
How I played it.
Yeah, but even then, it's a little rough. Like, I like the game, but I can't recommend it to anyone.
Yeah. And then Super Metroid was one that I played a lot. Like, I can't even wall jump. So, like, the randomizer isn't even an option.
No. I watch people who play the randomizer. I'm like, that is so cool what you're doing. I can't get past that plant boss that drops the spores. So,
yeah.
Or I can beat it, but I can't figure out where to go from there, and I just have to shut the game off because I suck.
Yeah, I can beat the vanilla game. I've played it a lot. Good. I can do it. I can get the 100%. Like, I know where all the missile packs and stuff are.
Nice.
But I can't. Like, when it comes to like competitively playing that game, like, you need to be able to wall jump, you need to be able to mock ball, and I can't do any of that. Any sort of frame perfect trick.
The full halfies and everything else that they do. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm never gonna do that.
Yeah, like, I've tried it, and I've thrown myself against a brick wall for 45 minutes. I would rather throw myself against a brick wall that is the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Yeah,
because like then there's. It's a thinking man's game at that point, because it's like, all right, what am I doing wrong here?
Yeah, and if you fuck up a button press, it's you can tell you did it, and you know why you did it, and it's because you weren't paying attention. It's not because the game is just like Twitch second requirements for an action thing. Yeah, I know. I love the Castlevania games, but at the same time, there are moments where I'm sitting there going, I know I pressed that button. Why the fuck am I dead now?
Yeah.
So
there's moments like that happen for me in FFR when like I have a good understanding of like the encounter table.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to save scum, like kind of walk across the world map and drop those save items so I don't have to deal with encounters.
I love doing that. That's a great skill to have.
And when I know when the next encounter is coming and I go to hit start and it's like pushing start activates the encounter, it's like, damn it, I was one frame step off.
Yeah. I've been there several times. It's one of those ones where like, well, I guess I'm just going to reset and do it again because I don't want to have to deal with all that. The encounter I'm getting is awful. Yeah,
I don't want to. Yeah,
I know the people that can memorize the steps and know the exact step they need to freeze it on. I tend to go just based on the music. So yeah, so I'll memorize like the overworld music and then the sea music for when I'm like sailing around, and I'll know about when I'm supposed to pause on both of them, and it's not too bad. But that's that's a core mechanic that if you're playing the randomizer and you want to get good speed, it's because the randomizer randomizes the encounter table. It's a set encounter table. It's not like it's just a dice roll every time whether or not you're going to get an encounter. You can actually know how many steps you're going to need to take before that next monster is going to show up, and if you do a hard reset, it goes all the way back to the start of the encounter table, whereas a soft reset, like as if pushing the reset button on your NES, as they say, will just carry you one further into the encounter table. Like, if you know what you're doing, you can navigate the whole game without getting monsters, and it's fabulous because that speeds up the whole game for you.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, along with menuing, that, you know, you'll probably be terrible at it when you first start. Like, I am, but eventually it's one of those things that's just practice and get you faster. Because like I remembered when I was preparing for the tournament, I was like, I hear everyone talking about encounter manipulation.
Yeah.
I used to Google, how do I encounter manipulate in Final Fantasy?
Well, and it's interesting how they have to do it for some things, because I'm sure you watched the Green Medusa of Death match between Will Cleosis and Tristal MTG, which Tristal got robbed. I mean, I think Will Cleosis is a great guy, and I mean, I think he'd even admit that it was pure luck that the Gur Medusas in there were as bad as they were, with like Ambush and Blaze and Death Touch, and it would just wipe the party every time Tristal was on there. And he spent like 10 or 12 tries figuring out the encounter tables so he knew how he could skip the Gur Medusas so he could do something else on the Earth floor and make it through the dungeon. Yeah. That was rough.
Talk about getting robbed. My racing is Will Cleosis in round 1 of the spring tournament. That was probably my best race in that game, in that whole tournament.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. But it's like I have that Marlon Brando moment, and on the riverside, like I could have been a contender. It's like 14 seconds. 14 seconds. If I had, because I screwed up and reset after Garland without having saved it.
I've done that. I hate it when I do that. And like you get deep enough in it and you're like, I just wasted 3 minutes. Damn it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like it's only 3 minutes, but I lost that race by 14 seconds.
Yeah. That hurts.
Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I win that race, the playoff bracket for him and I is moving forward is completely different.
It is.
I probably still end up 1-4. But
it's a different 1-4.
Yeah, there's a whole parallel universe out there.
Well, and then maybe Tristel doesn't get the Germadusas of Death. Maybe all you did was knock Tristel out of the tournament. I mean, did you ever think about that?
I'm not even sorry. Because I was all. I mean, he at least got to play in the bracket.
He did. He made it decently well in.
Yeah, I love that the tournament has been all new blood.
Oh, it's been great.
Crab Cakes, Shadow Walker. Like in my mind, they're not new blood. They've been around forever because they've been around since I've been in the community. So they've been around. Like the people that are coming in after me, I gotta look down at them. I like when you're in high school and like you're the sophomore looking at the freshman, like. But we're all still ducklings together. And like, holy shit, this guy put up better times than me.
Well, and I like seeing the new people that come in, like Super Luigi and Sledge and Thunder and all of them. And it's
Team
like
Super Sledge.
Yeah, that's a great name. Such a great name. But it's also that thing of like they come in after I do, and a lot of them are posting scores. They're like half the time I do. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here for the rest of my time in this game and just plod. But sure, whatever. There's discussion about the co-op tournament and how people are going to do and what they're expecting. I'm like, I just expect to get knocked out in my first 3 matches, and then I can work behind the scenes. I mean, I have no illusion about how good I'm going to do. It's like there's a possibility you'll have the same thing, and there'll be you and I on voice comms for most of the rest of the games.
That's fine. I like doing commentary for the races. I mentioned it last night on my podcast. I want team game changers in round 1.
You want to fight them?
Falconic and Will Cleosis.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That's going to be a good team too. They're really solid at that game.
They are.
Yeah,
but they haven't been practicing.
Neither have I. I mean,
start practicing, man.
my co-op partner is out of town for like 2 weeks, so I'm like, dude, tournament's coming up. When are we gonna play? And at this point, I'm just like, screw it, whatever. Let's just lose.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Hyro Fellows and I we've practiced. I want to say 4 or 5 seeds, and we're putting up consistent times in those practices. We're feeling better now that there's brackets. Like when it was the 4 play-in races, there was some nerves. It's like that's going to be tough.
Yeah,
to finish top 2, even because I was plotting it out in my head. I was like, play-in race 1 is going to be a free for all.
It is. It would have been nasty because they were planning originally to just run 8 teams in the tournament, and then they were going to have some play-in races to determine who the 8 teams were. And instead, they got 16 teams and just opened the entire brackets up another round.
Yeah,
which is great for us. I mean, I'm so happy. I don't have to stress over can I get into the top 2 of these 4 races, and if I don't, and it also means I don't have to play 4 races. If I lose 3 of them, I'm out and I'm happy. So.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would be overjoyed if I somehow made it with my partner to the second round of the tournament, and the Elite 8. I don't think I'd make it past there, but that would still be amazing. But I'm just happy to be in the tournament and just play.
Is there any team in particular you wanna match up against in round 1?
Well, Crab Cakes isn't playing in the tournament, from what I can tell. She didn't join. So I guess, I mean, I either want to play at another team at my level, so Super Sledge, so it seems like it's a really close one, because they're able to post times in the 130 to 150 range, which is where Min and I are in our game. And so sometimes we do good, sometimes we do poorly. He and I need to practice more and really work out a better strategy. We're, not to spoil anything, but we're going to try a much more fast and loose party composition, because he wants to take big gambles. And I know that one of us has to at least power up a party that can actually make it through Topher.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to end up trying a Thief Rainbow or even a Thief Red Mage, Black Mage party in our next practice when he's finally back. if we don't have to play it in the tournament immediately, which is a spicy combo. And that's all run in and then die after you see everything that's in here and don't expect to do anything. Whereas...
straight information.
Oh, total information. I'm like, Masamu's over here. And I'm like, cool, go find Tiamat for me. So I go get that sword. And then I play a 2-fighter-2 red mage combo. Because that is entirely I am just going to sit here, get my gear, get my levels, and then go kill Chaos on the first attempt. Yeah. That's all that's there for. And it works. Every time we play, he dives in the Topher before I do because I'm a little slower with my party. And then he dies, and before he
But he
can
has that information for you.
Yeah. Before he can get to Chaos, or the second time, he's already told me, this guy has nuke, this guy hits like a truck, don't do this. And then I'm in there, and I immediately kill Chaos in the first attempt, and it's great. So... That's fun.
Hyro and I have been trying to do, and you're sharing strategy. I'll share strategy. Yeah. I'll meet you. I'll meet you there. We've been doing complementary parties. So he'll run either fighter red double black or fighter double red and black, and I'll run fighter double red and white. So one of us has access to all the magic.
Yeah,
and
that's
or at
good.
Least between the two of us, we do. So it's like, depending on how things fall, like in our first few seeds, he was lucking out in his dives and finding all the gear and having the party to wipe out Chaos. But in the past few, it's come down to me like having access to life 2 or ruse or something like that on those like white mage only spell levels.
Yeah.
That has allowed me to go a little bit farther. And when I did our the co-op exhibition, when we raced against Team Flavortown, Meridian and Moist Mogwai, before they got to their Mega Man 3 strats, we were that whole race, dude, we thought we were like neck and neck. Like we had no idea.
And then you realize halfway in that they completely crapped out, and Meridian just goes and starts playing Mega Man 3 for no reason, which was hysterical
we had
to
no
watch.
Idea, though. Like when we got done, like when we were in Topher, we were like, "All right, dude, this is all right. Oh man, he wiped. All right, I'm going in." You know, like we thought we were in it.
Yeah,
So that was a ton of fun, and I love the co-op setting because you get to share. The experience that you're having.
It is. It's great fun just to play the game with someone. I mean, whether you win or lose, just being in a race with another person where you can converse and do other stuff and just share what you're doing is a blast.
Yeah. You hit the waters with Death Touch too. Yeah, Topher's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is, as I think someone has pointed out before, like on the Discord, which we will reiterate here, the fact that this is the only randomizer that any of us know of where you can literally play it co-op. It's not like two people are running the same seed, but they're doing it separately. You're sharing items, and every time one person gets a key item, it uploads to the server before downloading to the other person. So like you can really combo play this game in a way you can't just about any other randomizer. This is something that truly sets it apart.
Yeah, I think in the exhibition race, I was getting ready to dive something and go into a dungeon, and Hyro was like, "Oh, I just got the slab," and I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm right by Melmon. Let me go turn that in real quick." And then he could immediately find Lefane and go figure out what that item was. So instead of wasting 3 minutes for him to fly back to Melmon, then go to Lefane, he could just start flying to Lefane to get that key item turn in.
It's really awesome. It's so interesting the strategy you can devise for this. Yeah.
Oh, you just killed Lich. Like I know it's not a flag right now, but like I can see it happening. Like, oh, you just killed Lich. Cool, I'm in Crescent Lake.
Yeah,
I can turn this in right away.
Yeah, and it's interesting the practices I ran with Min. We've done, I want to say 3, and we've been largely, we've come down from 2 hours when we were first trying to figure out our strategy at the start to the 130 to 145 range, I think. And those first couple were when Falconic was still figuring out the flags for the tournament, and they were brutal hard ones. And so 2 hours on that, I'm like, oh man, we're doing fucking great. Of course, now I see Thunder and his people like turn in like hour seeds. Yeah, and it's just like, well, fuck it, whatever. I'm not going to win this, but especially if I go up against those two.
Well, they might get some bad luck and get knocked out in the first round.
Well, I'm expecting
maybe Super Sledge shows up, man. You never know.
Team Super Sledge wipes them out, and then I'm able to take some else out. The two of us fight, and it's a battle royale. That'd be fantastic.
Happen, dude. That's what I love about FFR. It doesn't matter, because you're racing the same seed. But you might get humbled by some Fire 3 imps.
Oh, yeah.
And I might not ever see that.
Yeah. Well, and there's the thing about the co-op tournament that makes Magic interesting, and also at the same time worrying about your Magic classes a little less necessary, is the fact that item magic is randomized. Yeah. So, like, for those that haven't played the game in a while or don't remember, there's like the heal helmet and the Bane sword and the power gauntlet that you could use in combat, and they would cast spells. Those items still exist in the randomizer with this flag on, but they randomize what the magic is. And the last 3 times Min and I have played, we've gotten a Cure 4 gauntlet.
Oh, nice. Yeah, don't bet on that.
No, but it's like 3 times in a row. I'm like, Jesus, dude, I'm clearing through Topher easy, because I'm just like, have my red mages constantly casting Cure 4 and not giving a shit.
Yeah. One of the best things I found was like a Fade Hammer.
Oh, those are great.
That was a ton of fun.
I've gotten a Nuke Stick. Nuke Stick is good. I think the last time we played, I actually found a Nuke Sword for not for sale, but just in one of the boxes. And I'm just like, well, I'm nuking everything. This is going on my fighter. He's never going to attack. He's just nuking. Because why the fuck not?
And then you have the seeds where it's like, cool, I got a lamp helmet.
Well,
cool.
My last one was actually up until right at the very end when we finally found the Nuke Sword and the Cure 4 gauntlet. It was mostly that. It was like a Harm 1 shirt and a Cure 1 helm and like lamp and Aether. And I'm just like, oh my god, the item magic sucks. But it's the thing about it is there's like 10 or so random items in the game, and with the number of spells that are there, you're eventually going to get something that's useful, even if it's like Fire 2 or Fire 3, you're going to get something that's item magic worthy.
One of the best I've had. So you mentioned the heal helmet.
Yeah.
There are 2 of those in the game.
Uh-huh.
Cast heal in combat.
Yep.
I found saber helmets.
Oh, I love those.
The power gauntlet, which is one of the best quality of life items you could have in the game, cast the spell saber, which boosts your attack power.
Which is a fun quirk if you play the vanilla game, because only the black mage can learn saber and only the white mage can learn ruse, and it's like they're only in those shops to actually be applied to magic, because those 2 mages are never actually going to use those single target on self spells
unless you're going Masa strats with the white wizard.
Or you have like a 4 white mage party or something like that. It's rare you actually use them. They're just there for item magic. So, but you were saying,
so the saber helmet, basically, I was like, cool, I have 2 power gauntlets now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, it was so much fun, because I think in that seat I was running Fighter Ninja, because I loved the thief. Even not fixed, my vanilla party as a kid playing this game was fighter, thief, white, black.
Yep. I think I did a Chaos Rush seed when I first got into the community, and I wanted to play everything and experience some stuff. And Chaos Rush is fun to get into, to just learn stuff about the game. And I think one of my seeds, it was like it randomized me a fighter, thief, white mage, and then in my first couple shop explorations, I found like a fast shirt and a saber hammer. And,
oh man!
And I'm like, well, I'm soloing this now because fuck the other 2 party members. Or like have the thief cast fast on me, use the saber thing, and I'm just like, okay, everything dies in front of me now. Yeah. So,
oh man.
Well, we have been going for over an hour, which officially makes this the longest podcast I have ever done.
Told you, man. I told you. I can still go. Like, we didn't even talk about Wild Arms or any of the other RPGs I played growing up.
Oh, man. I'm going to have you back on the show. But before we start wrapping up officially, I do want to get outside of video games for a sec. This is something I did with Sonny Rath as well, which I don't know if you knew this about him, but he really loves to bowl and to play pool and play ping pong. So, what interests do you have outside of video games? Because my website will cover anything if you can geek out about it. So, what's something interesting that you're into that maybe people don't expect?
I mean, I don't think it's what people don't expect, but I mean, for the past few years, I've been playing a lot of D&D 5th edition.
There's a lot of us in the community that play like RPGs.
Yeah, as a DM, as a player, I like adapting things in media to D&D settings. For instance, I had a campaign. So I'm part of a Tuesday game where it's like a rotating DM, where every like little mini character or story arc, we rotate DM responsibilities in a shared world. And for one of my campaigns, I ran them through the first season of True Detective. Like with the murders with dialogues ripped right from this, ripped right from the show. The Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson characters were NPCs. I took out a lot of their interpersonal conflict and just focused more on the murder mystery and like the weird, creepy Yellow King stuff. And like I've adapted like Stephen King novels into D&D stories. I when I was in the Army, I did a lot of karaoke. I'm not good at it. I'm really big into cooking. I've worked.
Again, it's like you and Sonny Rath. I'm going to have the two of you on the show at some point so we can just do a cooking show, because that's apparently one of his passions as well.
I've worked. So when I was a kid coming up, like working in high school and stuff, I worked in a lot of restaurants in the back of the house, washing dishes, working my way to prep cook, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then for when I got out of the Army, I got a really good gig doing defense contracting stuff, making stupid good money that you should not be making in your early 20s.
Oh, yeah. And of course, you're in your 20s, so while you appreciate it, you don't appreciate it as much as when you're no longer making it in your 30s.
I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I'm broke. I don't know how, but I'm broke.
My nephew, who's just out of high school, got a factory job, and he makes like $30,000 a year. And I'm like, Jesus, when I got out of high school, I was making $5 an hour. How do I get your gig back then? Come on.
But then at the same time, it's like $30,000 a year is like poverty line stuff. Like when it comes to inflation, it sucks.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
People are like, dude, you make $30,000 a year. It's like, bruh, have you seen my mortgage, or my rent or whatever?
Yeah,
like,
you either have a cheapy apartment or you're barely paying everything, even at 30.
Yeah, it's like I got roommates, and I'm like 50 years ago, this would have been a living wage.
Yeah, but if you're out of high school and you have like 3 roommates, you just don't care. $30,000 sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could talk about work and wages and all that stuff for like another hour.
There's an depressing podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like I work in that industry, man, where it's just like you take your hourly rate, multiply it by 2,080. That's your yearly salary. So you start taking those numbers, like 30,000, you divide it by 2,080.
Yeah,
not very much. It's maybe like $9 an hour.
Yeah, it's something. It's not great. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it's for us, like perspective, like, I was in the same boat working at a Wawa outside Philly, making $5.65 an hour.
Yeah.
And when I got bumped to $6.25, I thought I was hot shit, man.
Yeah. The time when I was working at Blockbuster and they promoted me from like regular guy who was making $5.15 to shift supervisor making $8.50. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so rich now.
I'm buying a Mercedes.
A very small one, but I'm buying. No,
the 1/64 scale.
Yeah, no, I did then what I still do now, which is I have too much cash in my pocket. Time to go blow it on movies and video games.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The disposable income, the people that feed those AGDQs and SGDQs, man.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, and then I like
$2,000 donation. Like, what? Who's got $2,000?
For kids who grew up in our era, this is a really evil time for us because after the NES and Super NES minis came out, now there's like the really awesome Genesis mini come out. Konami just announced the TurboGrafx mini, which has like the Chronicles of Ys books 1 and 2 in it, which I'm like, oh my God, I need to buy this, and that's like $80 to $100 a pop for everyone. I'm like, I must have all of these.
You just reminded me of another platform with which I have Final Fantasy. I have the FF, I have the NES Classic, and I have the SNES Classic because I saw them at Target. I was like, I have to buy this because out of general principle, because like these things were like hidden, like they were so hard to find. I was like, I'm just gonna get one.
Yeah. But the Super NES Classic only has one of the 2 Final Fantasies for it, and no Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Which is just really weird. Like, you have, like, the top 3 RPGs everyone talks about for this era on your platform, and you only give us one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. A little weird.
Yeah. But you get Link to the Past, you get Mario World. Mm-hmm. You get some good stuff on it.
So,
but so coming out of, like that, like I forget what we were talking about. Things
working as a cook and your love of food.
Yeah. So, around 2013, the good paying job that I had kind of went tits up, and
that happens.
I had to like reevaluate my life, and like I used to smoke, so like I would be on like smoke breaks with like my buddies in the office, and we'd always talk about like our doomsday plans, like, oh, what are you gonna do if like you lost your clearance or whatever. I was like, dude, I'd go back to school. I'd leave this. It's bullshit. Like the bureaucracy of like working in these offices is just a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happened in like April of 2013. And I was like, well, I applied for a couple of jobs. Nothing came through. And I started applying for schools, and I went back and finished my undergrad, used the GI Bill to pay for it all. And then when I was like trying to make ends meet, because the GI Bill was nice, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So I got a part-time gig working in a restaurant, a barbecue place, being a line cook. And I did that basically off and on for 5 years. And I have a lot of like passion when it comes to cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have a lot of technical skill. Like I can read a book and I could follow a video and I can learn how to do something. but part of it, like I have this conversation with my girlfriend all the time because there's a lot of job dissatisfaction that I have now with what I'm doing. And it's like, maybe I should go to culinary school. It's like I don't want to work in a restaurant.
Yeah, it's one of those things of I have like ideas for restaurants in my head that I think would be cool if I had, the money to just invest in this while what I'm like working on as my main gig that can just be my side gig can just operate. Like if my video game company took off in a year or two and I had enough disposable income, like I'm going to go run a restaurant in the evenings just because I can. It's stuff like that I would do because I love to cook. I would just hate to cook for anyone other than myself. Like, if I ran a restaurant, it would have to be a restaurant that I felt passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, 100% is what you should be doing if you're running a restaurant.
Yeah. And restaurants are just hard to run because, like, most restaurants fail. Even if it's a good idea, it's going to fail.
30% of them succeed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to, like, that stuff, like, I love to cook. I love to... My brother-in-law is a like classically trained chef. Like,
ooh, wow!
Like, he's really good. Like, I love going over to my sister's place for like the holidays.
Oh yeah!
It's like, oh, what are you making today, Chris? Oh, this is really good. I'm just gonna keep eating.
I'm just farting this out in 15 minutes, and suddenly it's like a gorgeous eight course meal. Yeah.
Like but the way he breaks it down, he's like, the way he like humbles himself is, all I'm making is turds and smiles. And it's like, I love that. I love that because that's what you're doing. You're making people happy, but at the end of the day, you're just providing the biological necessity to give them energy.
The basic nourishment.
Yeah. So when I think about like what I want to be doing, and this is another conversation I have with my girlfriend, like when I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to be doing with my life, it always comes back to like, well, if I were independently wealthy, what would I be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it is going to be related to cooking and what I'm doing now. So I think eventually I'm going to get together like a nonprofit. Like, well, like you have your video game company, which is on much more stable ground than my thought experiment, is to have a nonprofit that works with underprivileged or high school students with disabilities and teaches them like life skills.
Wow. When
it comes to like working in a kitchen, like teaching them how to cook and prepare simple meals that taste really good and that are not necessarily like healthy. Like I'm not trying to do like a health food kit because I love fried chicken, but just teaching them how to do stuff that's like, and then taking what they make and basically selling it in a storefront.
Well, and even if they can just learn how to cook for themselves, that's still healthier than buying the exact same thing from a restaurant.
Yeah. Like this week, we're going to learn how to make chili.
Yeah.
And then like all the chili that they make, like the stuff that's like edible. Cause I mean, let's be honest, it's some of it's not going to be. You can send them home with it, or you can like quart it, throw it into cold storage and like sell it, by the pint. Like, hey, get some more chili or whatever.
Now you're just making me hungry. Now I'm just like, ooh, I want some fried chicken.
Back into the dude, I love fried chicken. I was born in Georgia, man. Fried chicken's in my blood. As is the cholesterol associated with it.
Oh yeah, no, that's the reason why I don't normally eat it. I'm like, do I want to kill myself today? But it's so good. Yeah, well, we will have to have a cooking podcast at some point. I think get you and Sonny Rath on with me, and we'll just do like a 3-way call where we can just chat about it for hours. Yeah. And then if my game company takes off, I'll donate to your nonprofit for this because that sounds like a great idea.
Say, if you need somebody to run the cafeteria.
Well, no, I mean you have a great idea there, and it's one of those things of when I look at like what video games can do right now in the current market. You do like an indie video game with a small team, you launch it on like Steam and Kickstarter. There's a good chance it can make enough money to support itself and the company that's around it for a while. It's just getting that together, and then if we get large enough, I'll donate to your nonprofit because that sounds like a fantastic idea.
Oh yeah, dude, I appreciate it.
Nice.
I think we need an FFR cooking channel.
Yeah.
The pizza, the pineapple pizza, I will die on that hill, man.
That you like it or that you hate it?
I love it.
Oh,
it's not my go-to pizza. Like I'm a supreme guy. Like pepperoni, sausage, mushrooms, peppers, onions, olives, all the whole works on the pizza.
Yeah.
But I think pineapple has a place on pizza, man.
Pineapple, and I don't order it myself normally, but if there are people that I'm with and they're like, well, among the pizzas we're getting, I want to get a Hawaiian. I'm like, it's edible. That barbecue chicken pizza annoys me because I want the tomato sauce. And I think barbecue sauce on a pizza is just weird. Like, it's not pizza anymore. Just call it something else. But
it's fine.
Yeah. But like Hawaiian pizza, I can get by. Now, when they start being like, I want to put like pepperoni and stuff on this too, I'm like, no. Pineapple, ham, you're good. Why would you screw that up? That's a flavor combination that works really well together. Don't get overly elaborate on this. Just give me some Hawaiian if we're gonna do Hawaiian. But
pineapple and pepperoni is fine though. For my money,
I can't. I could try it once, but I can't imagine like the spicy pepperoni. Well, okay,
it works.
Okay, now that I'm thinking about it, because I will like make a plate when I'm actually eating nasty stuff, like as in things that will make my arteries scream. Like a nice chunk of baked brie with like some peaches and a chunk of salami or pepperoni on the side. Those all go really well together. So now that I'm talking it through, okay, I think I might see your point.
When you start mixing those like flavor palettes together, and it's just like the root forms of salty, savory, spicy, like sweet, like it works, man.
There's if you ever come into town here, which I don't know where you live, and we're not going to say that on the podcast, but if
that's fine. I'll share. I live outside DC, man.
Oh yeah, that's right. And yeah, you're like 9 hours away from me. If for some reason you're in the Midwest and you decide to come over to Indy,
I mean, Rafe, my co-host for the podcast, she lives outside St. Louis. So
there you go. Just you're driving across country. You're like, I'm gonna pop into Indianapolis and hang out with this weirdo for a day. There are a couple of gourmet pizza places that are really freaking good in town. They're like, but they serve like these really elaborate pizzas, like lasagna pizza with ricotta and a really nice spicy sausage and some other stuff. I'll have to take you there because
that's interesting.
Oh, it's phenomenally like drool worthy good when you think about them.
Because usually with pizza, so we'll talk about pizza for just a second. I'm going to make a point, and then I know you want to exit the show.
We should. It's an hour and a half in right now. We probably should.
So in my previous gig, it was basically what I'm doing now, but it was a little bit more of a social work bent where we would go into the houses and meet the families and work with them one-on-one.
Yeah.
And when we're doing these intake appointments and I'm getting to know the families and the students that I'm going to be working with, and I'd be talking to them, learning what their interests and careers and things are. And we would start talking about food. And my teammate, Rebecca, she was the case manager that I worked with. She would just start laughing because she's like, well, we're going to be here for another half an hour. And start talking about food. But that's what happened. Like we started talking about food. Like food is my Castlevania, dude. I could go for like another hour.
And we will on the next time I have you on the show.
The thing with pizza, I like a daring pizza, but I don't want to eat a whole pizza like that. I'm a simple pizza kind of guy. Like when I eat things at a new place for the first time, I like to try something that's proven.
Yeah.
So like pizza for me, it's like if I want to see if you have a good pizza, I'm going to order a pepperoni sausage pizza.
I get that. And that's the nice thing about the place that I would take you to is we'd get a group together because I have some friends that really like eating there. And then we'll just get like 4 or 5 pies. And you can get a very traditional pizza, and then we'll get a couple of the daring ones. And you mix and match, and then you take whatever home you want.
Yeah. I mean, I get a little bit of exposure to that because my girlfriend, she doesn't like pepperoni.
Okay.
And so it's like that's one of like the first pizza ingredients I'll put on a pizza. So we're probably just going to get separate pizzas then, aren't we?
Yeah, I love daring pizzas, and yet at the same time, there's something to be said for a very simple pepperoni mushroom.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pepperoni mushroom is a classic combo.
Oh, so good. They just complement each other so well.
Well, I mean, it is dinner time, dude, and I'm starving.
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up, and we'll just make an appointment to have you on the show again, next time I need podcasting material, because my co-host, his wife is pregnant, and she's due end of next month. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Congratulations to him. Although I don't think I've said it on the show before, so there you go. But yeah, no, I am sure that we have a podcasting appointment in a couple weeks to record 4 or 5 episodes, and then after that,
I'm always available.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure after I'm like sitting there going, well, we're not going to be doing much on the next season for a while. Let's bring Caleb back in. Here, let me reset it. Let's bring Caleb back in and have him on the show again and do some talk about cooking and politics and more cooking. So,
dude, I'm down, man.
That'd be awesome.
This has been a ton of fun. Thank you for having me on the show, man. I'm looking forward to Sunday night when they do the reveal.
Oh yeah,
the co-op
tournament, and then we'll see who we go up against. If it's you and I and our partners in it, have no fear. I'm sure you'll win.
That means you and possibly Min, if he's up to it, are coming on Rafe Hates Caleb.
Absolutely. Dude. Yeah, you need to have me on your show second you can, because I want to do this again with you on your format.
Would love to have you on, man.
Totally. That's going to be a great time. So let's cover what, once again, just for stuff, for if people want to track you down and find you online, what are your like Twitch and Twitter and whatever else you use?
Twitch, you can find us on twitch.tv/Rafe Hates Caleb. We're on Instagram. Rafe mostly runs that. Rafe Hates Caleb. We're on Facebook. You can find us. You can like us. That's how you can get like our podcast on the daily. You can also go to our website, rafehatescaleb.com. You can find us on iTunes. I'm pretty sure we're on Spotify. I know we're on the Google Play Store. So we're out there. You can find us, Rafe Hates Caleb. We're also on Twitter at Rafe Hates Caleb. Again, that's more Rafe's spiel. She's like our social media person. Nice. I just kind of am the lurky, cranky old man.
That's kind of what I do. Once in a while, I remember to promote stuff. Yeah, exactly. Social media is hard. I need to hire someone for that.
Yeah, right. Like SEO. What's an SEO?
I can make my website pretty. Just come to the website, damn it.
Right. Dude, you do make some awesome stuff. Like we're using your layout for the co-op tournament. Looks awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Since I invade a community and within 2 weeks I'm like, okay, give me all your artistic stuff because you need to do it properly.
No, you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
Your color choice is all wrong.
They're talking about stuff and all these things. I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to start talking graphic designer at you, and we're going to be talking corporate identity and
let me do it.
Logos and icons. And do you have a plan for this? What's your 6-month plan out for your graphics right now? Well,
thanks for having me, Mike. This has been a lot of fun, dude.
Just to confirm, it's RAFE and CALEB for Rafe Hates Caleb.
You got it.
Alrighty. Well, this has been a special edition of Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me in the booth is Caleb, and we will see you next time.